It's a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, she made a decision to walk away from the show.
Details, because I'm not going to tell y'all the details. That's none of y'all business. Oh, and I don't know the details.
He made it sound like something wild happened.
Correct.
And there's no reason.
Stephen A. Smith just got put on blast by Molly Qerim in the most humiliating way possible. She's not holding back anymore. She's calling him out for allegedly selling her out for a jaw-dropping $2 million payoff. Can you believe that? The same man who once praised her on live TV might have thrown her under the bus just to secure his own bag, and it cost Molly her ESPN career. But here's where it gets even crazier.
Oh, they're reporting that it's supposed to be the end of the year. Molly, by action, says it's right now. Instead of I'm leaving now, I'm leaving right now. She made it immediate. And then Stephen A. Smith makes the statement. Now, interesting once again, see, peep all these differences, right? These contradictions in terms of how they usually move and how they're moving with Molly. Max Kellerman left. Stephen A. Smith didn't even show up for the last day. Remember that? Interesting. And we all know that typically they don't talk about talent when they're gone. They just say, thank you for your services and we wish you well. This is a little different for many reasons. So when they're trying to paint it, it looks a lot different.
Molly claims she's got everything. We're talking private meetings, leaked voice recordings, screenshots, and text messages that allegedly put Stephen A. right in the middle of it all. People online are losing their minds, trying to figure out if he really betrayed her for money or if Molly is setting the stage for his downfall next.
Molly is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times some of these things happen and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. But it's not as if I know all the details.
To truly understand how deep this betrayal runs, we've got to rewind to September 15th, 2025, the day that flipped Molly's entire world upside down. Picture this. It's a regular Monday morning, nothing unusual in sight. Molly Qerim walks into ESPN just like she's done for a decade, holding her coffee, greeting the crew, until she spots a single envelope sitting on her desk. At first, she probably thought it was some kind of thank you note or maybe even a promotion. After all, she's been one of the faces of First Take for years. But nope, it was the complete opposite. Inside that envelope was the news no one ever wants to read. A letter coldly informing her that by December, her time at ESPN would be over. Just like that, her 10 years of loyalty, holding the show together, managing clashing egos, and keeping things running smoothly meant nothing. She was basically being told to pack her things and disappear quietly. No farewell, no gratitude, no spotlight moment. And the worst part? She didn't even get the chance to tell her fans or co-workers herself.
It was a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, she made a decision to walk away from the show effective immediately, as you see from her Instagram post, her Instagram story last night.
The moment news broke about Molly Qerim's failed contract talks, the sports world went wild. Every major outlet was running with the same shocking headline. Molly Qerim set to leave ESPN after contract negotiations collapsed. One second she was doing her job like always, and the next, boom, her name was splashed all over the internet like she'd just been thrown out. The heartbreak was real. That very night, Molly took to Instagram, clearly shaken. Her post hit different, raw, emotional, and full of truth. She wrote, "Now that the news came out earlier than I intended and not in the way I hoped." That single line shattered fans' hearts everywhere. People could feel her pain through the screen. After 10 solid years of building First Take into one of the most watched sports shows ever, she was being pushed out, and in such a humiliatingly public way. Everyone could tell there was something off. This wasn't just about contracts. Something deeper was going on behind the scenes. But the biggest shock came the very next morning when Molly didn't show up for work. Viewers tuned in expecting her usual calm energy, but her chair was empty. Turns out Molly had made her decision overnight. She walked away on the spot. No long goodbyes, no quiet exit. She was done. And that's when chaos hit ESPN.
Then a report comes out. That report comes out the next morning. Instead of Molly showing up to work, she puts out an Instagram post. And in that Instagram post, you guys remember, one thing she didn't mention was anybody by name, including Stephen A. Smith. Now, I've left a show or two before, and trust me, you're gonna name some names when you leave that. Just think about Shannon Sharp when he left Undisputed. Goodness, it took about 10 minutes of all the names he dropped. That's my point. Molly didn't do that. So that lets you know already there's some friction behind the scene.
Executives were scrambling, trying to control the narrative, but their reaction only made things look way more suspicious. Even Burke Magnus, ESPN's very own president, tried to smooth things over with a carefully scripted statement. He praised Molly's professionalism, said the network respected her decision, and wished her success in the future. But the statement felt cold, too polished, too rehearsed. It said nothing about why her exit was so abrupt, and fans instantly picked up on that. Let's be real. You don't just wave goodbye to someone who gave 10 loyal years like it's nothing. The vibe was off. No tribute, no heartfelt montage, not even a proper send-off on first take. It was quiet, clinical, and weirdly fast. Like they couldn't wait to erase her name from the roster. And then suddenly, boom, Stephen A. Smith's name got pulled into the mess.
But I'm watching, and I've been watching over the last several years, people in this business fall by the wayside because we forget that all of us ultimately answer to people. We don't get to define our own value. We don't get to define our own worth. We don't get to sit there and summarily say, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And guess what? I don't give a damn what anybody say unless you have the leverage to do it. Because business is all about leverage.
People started whispering that this wasn't just a corporate decision anymore. It was personal. The way it all went down felt too emotional, too sudden, like there was more to the story than just a broken contract. Industry insiders even started calling it an emergency exit, saying ESPN didn't want whatever was going on behind closed doors to reach the public. No one understood the full weight of Molly's sudden exit better than Marcellus Wiley, a former ESPN host who broke it all down during a fiery live session. And let me tell you, his explanation had people shook. He said what everyone had been thinking but was too afraid to say out loud. Why did Molly walk out like that? Why show up to work on Monday like everything's fine, only to completely vanish by Tuesday morning? Something wasn't adding up. Then came the twist. Stephen A. Smith's name started floating around and suddenly everything began to make sense. According to Wiley, this wasn't just a betrayal by the network, it was personal. Stephen A., her co-host, her friend of 10 years, the man she thought would have her back through anything, was allegedly the first to turn on her. Fans couldn't believe it. The next morning, Stephen A. walked into First Take alone. No Molly, no chemistry, no familiar energy. He sat there looking visibly tense, fumbling through his words, trying to explain her disappearance to the audience. The awkwardness was undeniable. His tone sounded sincere, but his words? That's where things started to get sketchy. Stephen A. told viewers, "We have no business knowing the specifics of Molly's departure from ESPN. I don't know the details." When Stephen A. started talking about the contract negotiations, things took a seriously shady turn. One minute he was claiming he didn't know the details, and the next, he was dropping insider-level information that no one outside those private meetings could possibly know. Fans were watching like, wait a second, how would you know that if you weren't involved? It was contradiction after contradiction and the tension was thick. But the real bombshell didn't come from what Stephen A. said. It came from what Molly didn't. Her silence spoke louder than any statement ever could. People noticed something strange in her emotional farewell post on Instagram. She thanked everyone, the fans, the crew, the producers, even the camera operators. But there was one name missing, the one name everyone expected to see, Stephen A. Smith. Not even a hint, not even a polite mention. That silence hit harder than any direct accusation. It was like a message hidden in plain sight. It made people wonder, what exactly went down between them? Because if everything was fine, she would have at least acknowledged him, right? To put this in perspective, when Shannon Sharp left Undisputed, he spent nearly 10 minutes on air thanking his co-hosts, dropping names, and paying respect to everyone he worked with. But Molly? Nothing. No shout out. No thank you, Steven. Just a cold, deliberate omission that said more than words ever could. After years of working side by side to make First Take one of the biggest shows in sports television, Molly's silence was a scream in disguise. And honestly, the insiders were right. Molly's exit wasn't quiet, and it definitely wasn't accidental. She knew exactly what she was doing. She didn't just walk away from ESPN, she made a statement. And what better way to do it than by making Stephen A. Smith, the very man she believed betrayed her, sit in that chair alone and awkwardly explain her disappearance to millions of viewers. That was her silent revenge, and it was brilliant. But while Molly was keeping things classy and calculated, the rumor mill was spinning out of control. Sports media outlets were throwing out wild theories, yet nobody knew the real story. Until Stephen A. started talking, and that's when the cracks started showing. The more he tried to clear his name, the more he slipped up, revealing details that only someone deep inside the decision-making process would ever know. People began to connect the dots, and suddenly, it all pointed back to him. The whispers turned into full-blown accusations that he had been the one to sell Molly out from the inside. And when you realize how much influence Stephen A. actually holds at ESPN, it's not hard to see how he could have pulled the strings. Stephen isn't just another on-air personality. He's the guy in ESPN's inner circle. He's the one sitting in those high-level meetings where careers are made or destroyed, deciding who gets renewed, who gets raises, and who gets replaced. His word carries serious weight. Here's where things get downright outrageous. While Molly Qerim was making around $500,000 a year, a solid paycheck for most people, it's nothing compared to what Stephen A. Smith was pulling in. Try wrapping your head around this. Over $20 million a year. That's 40 times what Molly earned, even though she was holding that show together day after day. To make matters worse, some hosts from smaller, less popular shows were still earning more than her. So when her contract renewal came up, Molly finally decided to stand up for herself. She demanded what she deserved: more respect, more opportunities, and fair pay that matched her contribution. But instead of negotiating, ESPN practically slammed the door in her face. They brushed her off, told her to be grateful, and left her hanging. That's when everything started to crumble. Molly wasn't going down quietly. Not this time. The person she set her sights on first? You guessed it, Stephen A. Smith. She started liking and retweeting posts calling him out as a hypocrite. Overnight, her timeline turned into a quiet battlefield. One tweet in particular went viral. It showed a clip of Stephen A. speaking on air about her situation while pretending not to. He said, "Some people lose everything because they overestimate their worth." Fans caught it instantly. That line was clearly about Molly. That's what really set fans off. Stephen A. Smith talking about humility. The irony had everyone's jaws on the floor because, let's be honest, every single time Stephen's money has been on the line, it's turned into a full-blown spectacle. This man has never been humble when it comes to getting his bag. People haven't forgotten. Back in 2009, he was actually fired from ESPN for demanding too much and letting his ego take over. He even admitted later that his pride cost him everything. And then in 2024, he pulled the same move again, going on a full-blown media tour, comparing himself to NFL stars like Dak Prescott just to get a raise. That's Stephen A. for you, always ready to fight for his worth. So when fans saw him turning around and throwing shade at Molly for doing the same thing he once did, it was over. The backlash hit instantly. Podcasts, YouTubers, Twitter threads, everyone was dragging him left and right. They called him out for being a hypocrite, for biting the very hand that once supported him. People reminded him that Molly Qerim was one of the main reasons First Take even became what it is today. But here's the strangest part. Since that storm hit, Stephen A. has gone completely silent. Not a single statement, not one interview addressing the drama. And that silence, it speaks volumes. It's like he knows that the more he talks, the deeper he'll sink. If Stephen A. Smith thinks staying silent will save him, he's dead wrong. Every time he opens his mouth now, it'll only pour gasoline on an already blazing fire. Because one thing's for sure, Molly Qerim is not done talking. She's been quiet for a reason, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And when she does, ESPN better brace itself. They thought she'd just fade away quietly? Not a chance. Molly's not walking off into the sunset. She's gearing up for a full-on reckoning. She's determined to uncover every hidden truth, every shady deal, every person who played a part in what happened behind those closed doors. And when that happens, it won't just be Stephen A's reputation on the line. The entire ESPN empire could come crashing down with him. The only question now is, who's next on Molly's hit list? Because if Stephen A was just the first target, this story's far from over. So what do you think? Is Molly coming for the truth or for revenge? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe, because this storm is only getting started. See you in the next one.